You are listening to the Decipher podcast, hosted by the Super Bash Brothers. Alright, we back. Decipher podcast.
I'm in this bitch.
So yeah, as you heard, we got a guest today.
Oh, y'all messed up. Y'all y'all done let me in.
J. Chris Moore.
They let me in finally.
What should we say?
I've been knocking.
The mob.
Crooks.
Chill Factor.
I
Definitely gotta do Chill Factor.
Maven.
Oh,
Pack
yeah.
Modern.
Maven.
Funks SF. Funks LA. Funks SD. Funks everywhere.
Damn, son.
Every dance team is
Dance.
Chapkiss Dance Fan. That's real though. That's real, man. I perform with Chapkiss more than I perform with some teams I was actually on.
Solidified movement.
Groove movement,
Pack
Super
Modern?
Friends.
Pack.
Yeah, I think I said that, but we say it again. That was my shit. That's the stomping grounds. Culture Shock LA. Ooh.
Aftershock.
Aftershock Oakland too.
Damn, son, he throwing them all out.
Oh no, man. GRV.
GRV.
Academy.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Well, welcome.
Hey, it took me a while to get here. I had a lot of teams
Like
out to
4
get
hours.
here. You know what I mean? It took a minute. What's going on, yo?
Yeah. Chilling.
Good, man. Glad to have you here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into some topics today about the scenes, SoCal and some NorCal.
Differences and
Yeah.
comparisons. or
Oh,
whatnot.
yeah. There's quite a few of those.
Maybe we start off maybe we talk about style wise. What do you think the difference between style? Let's just talk about style, and maybe we could talk about culture afterwards, what it's because you definitely, out of everyone from SoCal, I think you know a lot about the history and the culture up here in the Bay because you're literally up here every
Every other month.
for the
month,
most part.
every other weekend maybe.
Yeah, I owe you a lot of rent, I think.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, you're on the lease. That's fine.
It's cool. Yeah, man. I think what's a really big factor is you have to base the movement and the style upon the where music is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think the reason why the Bay Area has such a unique and defined style is because your music is so unique and so defined, so your character is.
Mm-hmm.
LA, it's a melting pot. LA, it's has to stay up to date, has to be current. So people are consistently trying to evolve rather than purify, I guess you could say, and define. That's why I don't think there's a specific LA style. There's a SD style. Mm-hmm. There is certain teams in LA per se that have a style, but I don't think it's a defined style because everybody wants to do the contemporary or the swag or the ISO or there's no. But then when you look at the Bay, mm-hmm. there's a Bay style. You know what I mean? Definitely. You know. So the differences would have to be I think patience over.
In movement.
Patience and movement
mm-hmm.
per se over and in for the Bay, patience, you know what I mean, a heavy pocket. Yeah. In SoCal it's definitely a little more flashy mm-hmm. and more musically inclined. Not to say there's no musicality in the Bay, but I feel like in SoCal, since there's so much competition, that each team wants to do something a little bit different. So you have San Diego, who is I feel like they invented the end count. In choreography.
Because they're trying to cram as much
exactly.
of the cool moves
while still being clean.
Yeah.
And in SoCal, mm-hmm. I mean in LA, I feel like it's more about cleanliness and strength in numbers. Mm-hmm. So you have teams like GRV who are ridiculously clean and can be ridiculously clean with 40 people on stage easily. Incredible. It's their thing, you know.
It's amazing.
So I think, but going back to the Bay, I feel like the musicality, the pocket, the patience, the maturity, and the movement. Mm-hmm. I think it's very, very representative of the culture and the lifestyle. So, and it's you have an identity, you have a history in the Bay for it's this is art, something that we created. LA, like I said, since it's such a melting pot of cultures, you really just define it by whatever the team is. The team has a style, not LA has a style.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the LA area and the SD style. Mm-hmm. For sure, you see an SD style because they're kind of similar to the Bay where they're in their own little hub. In LA you have decades of history from community to the industry
Mhm.
of like Hollywood type
Yeah.
style dancing, commercial work, music videos. So
Yeah,
definitely you definitely see that difference. But I think there's slowly a crossover of styles too, from community to the industry in LA.
Yeah, I think it took a while.
Yeah.
There's always been like people, I guess you could say like sprinkled throughout the SoCal community that
Yeah.
were aware of like the possibilities of incorporating a more industry style of movement into their choreography and putting that into the community scene. And those people always stood out. Like you know, there's
Yeah.
people like Anthony Lewis on GRV who
Mhm.
was just like so much more. His choreography and his ear for music was so much more beyond what most people were focusing on as far as like the quality of movement.
Yeah.
Miguel Zarate, when he was on Caba, he was so far ahead of the time. He was already doing jazz funk stuff that they were doing in the LA industry. You know
Definitely
what I mean?
a pioneer.
And they knew JP San Pedro. He knew.
Yep.
He was aware of what
He was
was
mixing.
going on. You know.
Yep.
Tassandra Travis, she knew. Jafar
Mhm.
Smith, he knew. Like these people were aware. Craig, they knew. But they
Yeah.
were all also community at one point. But they knew what the difference was. And I feel like they left their imprint, like, because they still trained people that
Yeah.
could have continued that movement in the community, but the community was already strongly going in a different direction of as far as competition was going.
Right.
And
Yeah.
once
It's
again, we
heavy.
all know about the formula.
Yep.
So an industry choreography style doesn't really fit the formula for,
Yeah,
for
true
that.
that.
So to each their own. But I think it's definitely dope that those people that are in the industry now that came from the community did leave a mark. You know what I mean? I think it's also important that people like ourselves, we got to keep people aware of like, hey, don't forget, you know, Jafar used to be on Culture Shock. You know what I mean? Tassandra was on Culture Shock. Nappy Tabs was on Culture Shock.
yeah.
You know, like let
Yeah.
people know so people will stay aware of it. You know,
They've
Even-
made their crossover.
Exactly. So it's doable. You know, there's like this glass ceiling, you know, of certain things that you can accomplish by staying in the community for so long.
And the
you know.
entry point is the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the same. And it doesn't really matter, you know, because you could be a community dancer for like 10 years, but if you don't do something that validates you, like you could be in a community for 10 years, but if you've never done body rock, people are like, I don't know who you really are. So you have to hit certain things. So everybody has the same entry, but if you don't get to a certain level,
There's milestones you have to hit.
Yeah.
You have to do this.
you gotta do
You have to-
vibe.
You got to
Yeah.
do it. Palace at the Fine Arts up here.
If you're in the
You gotta
Bay, yeah.
do-
Yeah.
Gotta do a SF Dance Fest, you know what I mean? You
Mhm.
gotta do a couple collabs, you gotta do now
At least a
at least a
couple.
couple collabs. And now
Because
you
you're not,
gotta do
they're not going to get away with at
exactly.
least
And now
just
you have to do
full
Evolution,
everyone.
because Evolution's going
Yep.
on 6 years.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
certain milestones. So like, it used to be you have to do a WAD, you know?
Yeah.
So LA, we all know the standards. You know, there's 5 shows a year that you gotta do, and if you're not even on the lineup, then what are you doing?
You just got to work.
You just got So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I think it's one of the things that the Bay is missing right now is kind of like a dance calendar
Yeah.
year. Like we don't have, just getting to like, okay, collab happens in April and Evolution's on May and Hip Hop Dance Fest in November. Like, you know, but we're still kind of all over the place as far as the season. But I do notice the trickle from the style from SoCal over to the Bay with the competition thing heavily.
Well, you
Which
have a lot
kind
of you have a lot of mega crews now.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
it used to not be like that. When the community was still growing, it was like 4 or 5 teams and everybody looked different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody. Now it's like we're really looking like clones, you know?
Well, it's also it was like that in LA too though, because the big 3 like Pac TM Kaba, and then Culture Shock, like they didn't look alike at all.
Yeah.
The dancers looked the
909
same,
didn't look-
like 909,
Yeah.
like everybody had their own identity, but sooner or later you could only have so many stems of the umbrella.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you look at an umbrella, at most it'll probably have 16 little arms
Yeah.
to bridge. You don't look at an umbrella and it's got like 100 spoke Dayton. You know what I mean? Like it's because it's, sooner or later you're gonna create clones.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I think what happens is where this whole thing started with these cookie cutters is the projects, like
The project
when
groups.
people started doing projects, because you stopped having original styles and you started taking like a person from Pac and a person from Kaba and let's do a project together and they make this fusion baby that looks like a Pac Kaba baby and then
Mhm.
people adapt that style and now you have no more. You would think that that's going to be an original style, but then now people are still just replicating this Pac Kaba style.
Mhm.
Boom. And now you have this Pac Kaba fusion team. So it's like, oh, now they're not a project anymore. They're a team. So they get put up but now there's no arm for them to fall under because
literally-
either you have Pac and you have Kaba. So that's what's going on now in the Bay. It was so much easier to have originality because you had crews and your crews were lit as fuck. You know what I mean? But as soon as people started recognizing the collegiate scene, now all the colleges in the Bay want to have collegiate teams too, and they have crews. I mean, they have mega crews, and they're seeing that, okay, if we want to compete, we have to follow the formula. And like I said, you can't do like those crazy crew type things with 40 people.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't read.
It doesn't read well, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Like if I was to do Greg Chapman's roll off with 8 people.
No, it's never. There's gonna be too much music left. It's gonna be like, and then you stop at the second. People just holding, and it looks really mad awkward. So yeah, and it's crazy. And I think the fact like people like Greg, I wonder how he feels. He's like, yo, I've been doing this, and now it's cool. Now it's like almost like expected. Everybody has to do this like mega crew type movement, these army movements, because now everybody has that. So I don't know.
It's weird. It's weird that it's just a lot of the same, and that's where it's weird. I don't know if I could pinpoint when or where, but
It's hard.
It's really hard.
It definitely did get a lot of like, for sure.
It's hard too. It's almost now a game of. It used to be like, okay, who's going to be the last 3 to go on the show? Because those are going to be like the hitters. But now it doesn't matter because now it's like, who's just going to do what first? Because you can go first in the show and just do everything according to the formula and just be executed really, really well. And people are going to be like, yo, that was tight. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like messes it up for the curve for everybody else because now everything's going to look exactly like that first group until you get to the last couple groups when you're like, oh, that's who the first group was originally trying to look like.
Yeah.
And it makes the shows not as entertaining anymore. And then the judges are just like,
I have a question. Like, we're like a little bit off tangent, but on topic of what you're discussing. How do we make the teams not be clones of each other? How do we encourage them to be as original?
You gotta ask them what makes them different first. Some of them don't even know what makes them different from everybody else. Like so
self-reflect
once a team can identify, or even not even just the team, just like the core or like the directors, so they can establish like this is what we stand for, and everybody has something to now look forward to, instead of just having a full team of looking at who is currently on top and saying, okay, I guess that's what's we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
totally agree.
I think that's what needs to happen, like some kind of like summit when you just have all like the directors of the teams and be like, okay, cool, tell us about what you guys are, so we can figure out who's in the Bay, you know, who's in LA, who we are, like, you know. So like a summit with all the directors would be cool. So that way each director can understand who is in the community, who they're competing with, who they're potentially collaborating with and whatnot, and understand everybody's individual style and individual what makes them different. Because then it'd also be dope to like understand what these shows could possibly be. Because then it's like, yo, that's how it used to be back in the day.
It would be amazing.
Like,
you know, if everyone really was like, okay, I'm gonna be as original or as
that's how it used to be.
Genuinely, like
that's how it used to be, like Buster Groove days and like even like the first couple of Body Rocks were just like when all of a sudden the random foreign teams would start coming over and people would be like, yo, like what are they gonna do? Like we gotta step our shit up because they're gonna do something crazy. Yeah. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not. It's not. I think the judges have a lot to do with it, indirectly, but I feel like if the judges start trying to reward more people that are original, you know, I think then people start seeing, oh, the weird ones or the different ones are getting the wins. Once they start accumulating some wins, people are going to be like, oh, we should just do some weird, our own thing.
But,
you know what I mean?
Coming from a judge's standpoint, that also goes left because then you have teams that try to be different specifically and it doesn't work for them because it's not like, it's not their thing. You know,
they're being weird to be weird, but they're not naturally.
It's not
weird.
naturally their thing, you know. Sure. So, and then people start like, oh, let's just like go left when everybody's going right. It's like, okay, go left, but still don't be right going left.
Yeah, you know, it should be you, but
it should be.
It should be you, and that stems back to what you were saying, Mappy. Is not enough people know who they are or what you is.
Yeah.
So.
That's the tough part about like knowing who you are and sticking to it, because you always like, I mean, I don't blame everyone because it's like they're inspired, you know, like we do it, I do it, like, you know, great artists steal, right? Or what's the phrase? But definitely being authentic is what we need, you know. I think there reaches a breaking point where we're all just so tired of going to these shows. Like everyone collectively as a community.
Yeah.
You know, if no one says anything, there should be a breaking point. I think where we're like, yeah, we do look everybody. Let's just change our shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's like,
so do we have to wait for that?
No,
we just have to wait
like,
for these people to kind of
we
get
gotta
to that
do
moment.
something.
Man, all these things can be prevented if we like have this summit and literally have footage of teams and be like, okay, this is what is viewed as, this is what you guys do. You know what I mean? This is your most recent performance. What is this about? Like, how does this describe who you are? And once they say it, like, okay, cool, because this kind of looks like this team too. So how are you guys different?
Yeah.
And maybe they might not even, they'd be like, actually, we used to dance together on da-da-da. And then they're like, see, now we see where this is going and, you know, the problem or where it might be stemming. Not necessarily a problem, but something that's making us plateau. I'm not going to say it's a problem because you have to go back to it. Even though these shows look the same, there's still dope choreography. There's still like dope.
The level is still high.
The level is still high,
Yeah.
But there's no spike. They're
Exactly.
like, it's
Flat
weird.
lines
It's
for a
flat
minute.
lines,
Yeah, you just brought up a point. I think that goes with also producers of the show and how they create the lineup, and that makes me think about how I put my lineup together too. You know what I mean? Like, but also what the community is doing. If you have 6 teams like to work with, and all 6 teams look the same, it's like, oh no, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I mean, I've been going to a lot of these random comps the last couple of years, man, and it's like, I'll ask, like, why are you using these judging sheets? Like, what about this do you like? Or it's like, oh no, everyone's using this. And it's like, all right, like, you know what I mean?
Why
Like,
you
so that's I think like what he's saying. Like the promoters, in a sense, have to take some. I think everyone has some responsibility. You know,
yeah.
the promoter does, the judges do, the team directors. They have everybody's kind of accountable. But I think like what you're saying, maybe some kind of summit or something. But I always thought this is what HHDA was really supposed to be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
These crews are registered with this group or organization to know that they are, air quotes, real or official or whatever. But I feel like that's almost like what we're.
But I'll let you know that a lot of teams that do these shows don't even know what that is.
Exactly. But it takes
Or
everybody.
dancers.
or dancers, yeah. So it just, I mean, like you said, there's just a lot that needs to change, and it just needs to be, it needs to happen. Because it's like everybody knows everything. Nothing that we're saying isn't unknown knowledge. You know, people talk about this. I've had the same conversation with many people, but it's going to take someone to do it. And it also comes down to the point of where people hold this as a priority in their lives too. You know, there's certain things out there and certain organizations and certain forms of art that are taken way more serious because they're also more lucrative. And you go into foreign countries and you see the way that they treat like breakdancing events and stuff. There's no reason why Body Rock and Vibe and all this should be televised. There's no reason why it shouldn't be like sponsored, but it's because not enough emphasis is put into this on a grand scheme to be like, yo, like this needs to happen, you know?
Yeah.
I watched footage of like Arena over the one from overseas and I'm like the first time I saw like Kendra's performance and they came out with that motherfucking riser, I was like, this is a fucking concert.
Yep.
I want a fucking riser.
Right.
I was like, I want that. And it's like, first of all, like the production value of that, it's, you get to see how much they care. Yeah. So it's like, that started here. Why are they doing it better over there when it started here? And you can break that down to the whole like go back to Bay SoCal thing. It's just like, I feel like that doesn't exist anymore as far as like when SoCal teams would look at the Bay, we'd be like, oh shit, Bay's with the shits. And in the Bay, I know they'd be like, yo, we're going to SoCal, we got to bring our A game.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, it's just a straight shot. There's no more, it doesn't happen like that. Like I remember I used to be like, yo, the company that's the Bay, you know, Champions, that's the Bay, Solidify, that's the Bay, you know, like you knew what certain teams represented, and now I just feel like just so many teams that it's just Cali.
But that's happened in not just choreo, even in b-boying.
Yeah.
So I think that's from the accessibility, and I hate blaming the internet, but it's the internet, you know what I mean? Everyone can see all these videos of all these b-boys from all over and just mix them. So when everyone makes the same gumbo with the same ingredients, because everyone's watching the same few people, so they're all making the same gumbo with the same ingredients. Yeah. So this one just might use a little more Sean. This one might be a little more Amanda Grind or whatever. You know what I mean? Like so. I think that's where it gets a little weird. that everyone's picking the same people to even, you know, because that's like that's what I'm saying. Everyone's making gumbo, right? But everyone's using the same exact ingredients. No one's using someone different to make gumbo, or just don't even make gumbo. Make chicken noodle soup.
Well, I think another thing that's happening is, and from what I've seen from the Bay, what's cool is you guys do have. I feel like in LA, I keep saying LA because I can't say SoCal because I can't really speak on SD because I don't know where it's at right now, but. In the Bay, you guys have more choreographers than LA does. LA has more dancers, and that shows just from the numbers of people who are on these teams. But what I noticed is like the Bay has more like individual choreographers who will do like little small side projects, and then they'll take the mega crew people and they'll let them take 7 of y'all, and now we're a crew. Which is cool because it shows a lot of initiative and a lot of like hunger, but. How long were you on that team before you made that crew, and who did you really train with to be like? Yeah, where's the lineage there? So I guess it's kind of like double. It's like a gift and a curse because it's dope because the Bay needs to grow more. So in order for it to grow, you need more seeds, which is cool. But I think there needs to be a little bit more lineage. Is the best way to say it because in LA. Dancers will dance for like 8 years on a team and then be like, I don't want to choreograph. Like they have no interest, no desire to choreograph. Yeah. Just like, yo, I'm on the team. We doing these shows. We winning. Whatever it is, what it is. I'm actually a nursing major, so you know it is what it is. I don't need to. And then the select few members out of the teams will be like, okay, I'm a choreograph. I'm gonna go teach at Dojo, Snow Globe. Yeah. But in the Bay, it's just like everybody can just choreograph, and I'm like, okay, are they cookie cutter? I can't say, you know what I mean, because there's so many fusion people, you know, but I just wish that would kind of shift, because then it would be dope to see more, like you guys say there's a bigger influx of mega crews, but I want to see more mega crews come from the Bay, you know what I mean, like that'd be dope, because all I see is another mega crew popping up every week in SoCal, like just popping up, it's like, oh, there's an audition for GRV, cool, well we didn't make it, so we're going to start our own team. Okay, cool.
It happens up here too.
It's just less.
Yeah, less people and
small scale.
Yeah,
same kind of stuff.
Which sometimes is unfortunate because they'll pop up and they'll be really good and then they'll just disappear.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, where do those people go? Okay, so are those teams predominantly made up of a bunch of choreographers?
No, I think homies maybe, like they were on the come up of being the same, you know.
But see, that's how it started though. Yeah. Because you just described almost like Gen 2. You just described, you know, like the homies. You just described Mind Tricks. You just described. So that concept is not foreign to the Bay. Yeah. But what was different with them that made them continue to go on, and what was different with these groups now that are doing it and then just fading out? Like, is there no passion? Is there no opportunity?
I think it's a leadership. A lot of when you get into like a leadership role, like directing your own, or crew, squad, whatever, even if it's like 6, 8, 7, it's still a huge commitment. You still got to come up with things to do and like make moves happen and stuff. So I think a lot of them get burned out and then they like don't want to do it, and then maybe they'll get re-inspired again and be on a team or something. I just see that happening a lot. But
see, that's another opposite, because in SoCal, everybody wants to be a director. Everybody wants to have their own team. Yeah. And people aren't afraid to be like, oh yeah, we're going to meet up and we're just going to practice outside in such and such parking structure, and like there's a little bit less resources that are needed because people just want to be seen. Like, this is my project, this is my team, this is our crew.
It's me, it's about me.
Me. So, I mean, so there's a lot more differences than people are really aware of, you know, and I think a lot of it has to do with like mentality, a lot of it has to do with direction, a lot of it has to do with opportunities and like resources. Sure. It's really easy to be a dancer in SoCal now. Yeah. And that's from LA to San Diego in general. Like, it's really easy to be a dancer. It's cool as shit now. Mm-hmm. It's everybody realizes that there's more than just Jabberwockies. You know what I mean? That because for about good 7 years, you'd be like, oh, you're a dancer? Oh, like a Jabberwocky? Like, yes, like just like a Jabberwocky. Yeah. We all have our masks and just, I'm going to show you something right now, you know? So it's cool. It's easy. I don't know how it is in the Bay, but I assume it's not that much different. I mean, as far as I know, money's not there really to be a dancer, but industry-wise. But in LA, it's literally like dime a dozen now. Everybody wants to be a dancer. Everything caters to dancing. Yeah. So
if you think about it, it's kind of cool because it's like going to be like a very common thing.
That's what we wanted.
Like, that's what we wanted.
You know?
What about culture? What do you, as far as culture, what do you think the big difference is?
I think there's a big dissension between like the purists and the I guess you could say like I'll call it like the new wave mindset, because I think the purists are the people who recognize where the community was, or even we'll take the community and industry, where the industry and where the community was, and the steps to see how far it's gotten and what's been sacrificed, and what even if they weren't a part of it, they took the time to understand and acknowledge it and look at the history of it, as opposed to people who are catching the wave right now of how successful dance is and hopping on what's working now, regardless of what it took to get there.
That one's an opportunist.
That's a new way. I don't want to say an opportunist because they're not necessarily. They're just saying like, it's not even like, oh, I'm doing this because it's cool. I'm doing this because this is all I know. Because this is what I've seen. You know what I mean? I can't say, oh, like...
Especially because of age.
If
you're younger, it's actually cooler. So earlier you're doing it.
Exactly. Because if a kid... Like, for example, there's... I use it... Perfect example. There's this young boy by the name of Gio. He danced with my company. He danced with the Lab. He's originally from Arizona. This kid is 13 years old. And he is probably one of the top 10 dancers I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
As far as his discipline, his ability to take direction, his versatility, his heart, his genuine just like humbleness, everything, right? I've always told myself like, I'll probably never take a class from anybody under the age of like 18, because I'm just like more like, what are you gonna teach me that your predecessor or your teacher can't teach, hasn't already taught me, or I could learn, you know what I mean? And this kid, he's teaching classes now, and he's judging events now, and he's doing like judges demos, and I'm looking at him like, yo, I want so bad to be like no, this isn't right. But because I recognize his journey and I recognize how much work he's put in and studying the history and going to like Culture Shock H4 and like being mentored by Arnell, and he did it the right way. So he's not new wave, he's a purist regardless of his age, because he could sit here and be like, oh yeah, I know I'm supposed to post this many times a day, I know I'm supposed to focus on my followers, I know I'm supposed to do this according to social media standards, but what's more, there has to be something before social media, and that's how he recognizes that. Some people don't recognize it because no one's putting that knowledge in front of them. So I can't call those people opportunists. I can call the people who are sheltering them opportunists, because those are like the parents who are like, oh, I need to put my kid in this class so they can be seen, rather than being like, okay, I'll put him in this class, but I'm also going to put him in Jason Wright's class and put him in, Brian Friedman's class, but then also put him in, like a foundation class like Seach, or then put them, spread them out. Yeah. Because you're recognizing the culture, you're recognizing all the aspects instead of being just focusing on the quick buck, you know what I mean? And operating and capitalizing on my child being a really good dancer, So that's how I definitely, and that's where, and even in the community, because people will look at what's hot right now, and they'll look at like the Kinjas, they'll look at, Puspos, they'll look at Keone, and they'll look at Melvin. I'll use Melvin and Isabel, perfect example. I've judged a lot of competitions, and I've definitely put on these judges sheets, you look like Melvin, you look like Isabel, and you have never even been to the Bay. You've never taken any of their classes. I know for a fact, because I'm judging this in like a completely different country, and I know you've never taken that class because I know Melvin has never been here. So the closest thing you've taken from learning from Melvin is a Steezy workshop online. But you're the main choreographer for your dance team, though. No, that's not right. You know what I mean?
They're inspired, though.
Yeah, it's almost not even like inspired is one thing. Emulating is a completely different thing.
No, what I mean by that is like people are inspired and they just don't know what to do with it at first. They get inspired by it and then they have to work their way through it. And right now it's like, what they're seeing and it's catching.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I get what Jay's saying. He's more like, we're the ones that have to police as well.
Yes. Yeah. And not enough people are doing it. And then, like you said, the judges are supposed to be the number one people to police that kind of stuff.
Yeah, true that.
There's a lot of we're giving out a lot of like participation points, man, and we're giving a lot of like AYSO soccer trophies out at the end of the season, man. There was a lot of gold stars being put on people's shirts, and it needs to stop. And I completely understand what's important to keep morale and to keep, people's positive, hopes up to like giving constructive criticism. I understand that, but if you keep feeding bullshit to people, all you're doing is making them fat, and now they're just full of shit.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't help. It does not help the culture at all, and it's like almost it's very disrespectful to the pioneers, the people who were like, we didn't know anything. We built this community, like we built this format. We made these rules. You know, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Speak on it.
Not at all, man.
No.
Stop.
I don't even know how to. It's good that there's people like you policing, but I think, like you're saying, if we start really trying to make these advancements in the scene, I don't know if people will be receptive to them. So, like, I'm gonna throw it out, like the judging thing. Like, imagine if we could see every time someone from this organization judged, air quotes, you can see the track record. So you can see they kind of fluff the numbers. You know,
they're
what I
not
mean?
consistent.
Yeah, consistent.
Or they are
biased.
consistent, but they're consistently generous.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can see these kind of
Yeah.
things where now we can actually start having at the summit, like, hey, Greg, man, like, you're too nice, nigga. Like, you need to just, like, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's all these things we can start to try to do, but I don't know how receptive to some people are, because I've come back just asking around, throwing things out, and there's not a lot of people receptive to it. So
yeah, there's a lot of people who should be doing stuff, and I throw that word "should" around lightly because no one should feel obligated to have to do anything that isn't pertaining to keeping their pockets fat and making sure they can take care of them and their loved ones, you know. But anybody who is extremely invested in the community should have a certain level of obligation to be like, okay, if I'm going to judge, I need to like really take this shit seriously because you are literally like shaping the direction. And I also feel like there is way too many consistent judges being used over and over and over again in the course of the same season. I understand the same event. That is fine. If you want to have a specific panel of judges to judge every Body Rock, it's the same judge every but don't let them judge multiple times throughout the season
when they've seen something
over and over again. Yeah. And there needs to be also a cap on when people can how long people can utilize sets, because some people have done like sets consistently. I'll be like, yo, I've seen this 5 times already. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they've won 5 times. And it's the same judges 5 times. And I'm like, that.
Let me speak on what you just mentioned about like the same judge. I've been one of those judges just by but just by chance. Like in the Bay, like I would get booked for WAD, Prelude, like whatever, you know. And I ended up judging all these competitions once. And I did see the same set, exactly what you're doing, like throughout the whole season, I'll see it get better and better and better. The one thing I found that I was like being helpful, even as much as like, oh, I've already seen this, was like, oh, that was much cleaner than last time. Like, and I've seen some teams, I've critiqued them on their notes, like on a costume comment, and they scored them really low, and the director...
They fixed the costume, right?
They fixed the fucking costumes. And I was like, okay, cool, that's kind of cuter.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a upside to that, but it should be rotated at least, or something.
But you know why they did that? Because they knew that you were going to be at the next competition and you would see it. So if they knew that they were going to see you at Body Rock, okay? And at Body Rock, you put that negative comment about costumes. When they're coming around the next year and being aware that Body Rock is coming up and they're going to start their set and they know that Mappy's going to be a judge, but okay, our costume has to be on point because last year that 1 point affected us from placing a higher thing. Like people would put more into it instead of just being like, hey, we're using this set for da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, and I understand how I've been on the creating process. I've worked 5 months on one set. I understand how it is, and you don't want to just waste it. Yeah. But yo, that's what we do. If we're that creative and this is what we love to do, boom, take 5 months on a set, do that bitch 2 times, and then get right on the next one. You know what I mean? That's if that's what we do. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So it really depends.
Yeah, man. And that would be way more exciting as a judge too, man. To not look at a lineup and be like, oh, I know what you're gonna do. I know what this is probably gonna be. Oh, they're gonna do. Let me go on Instagram and see. Let's see. Prelude such and such was 2 weeks ago. Okay, they're probably gonna do the same set. Or
you can almost predict it.
Exactly, man.
And it makes sense for some teams, like because the time span is so short, they're only able to like.
Well, I'm not talking about those like the competitions that are a month apart. I'm talking about like
when you're going a full season and you're
from prelude to body.
Yes, man, and like, or you do everything up until, and you don't switch your set until body rock, and then you do it just for body rock, and then never again
do it,
and then like, okay, we're gonna start a new set for whatever the next show.
You
don't
like that, or you do?
I don't. I don't, because for me it's like I said, I understand the creating process as a comp team. Yeah, and here's the thing, for exhibition teams, I'm like, two times, and you should be a rap anyway, because you're an exhibition team. You should be like, you're the level of prestige. You're a company, like you shouldn't have to take that long unless you're doing some next level shit. Which I've seen companies do. Like, I will say this. The shit that AOV pulls off in a small time frame is fucking insane to me, man. Like, they pull off some crazy production value in like, oh, we're gonna rehearse for 3 weeks, because that's just how they are, you know what I mean? And so that's cool. I feel like if AOV can do it, then why can't more teams in the community do it? And it's a mindset, you know what I mean? And it's also like how you establish it. Like, AOV established, this is what we can do, this is what we're gonna do, and they just do it all the time.
That's
if a team, it's the bar.
You, as a dancer coming in, you know what, when they say run around the studio 8 times, it's like, what?
You're gonna run. It's running.
This is what we do. Like,
but then you have teams like the company, and I feel like they do 2 sets a year, but they also do throw their own show. Mm-hmm. So one of those sets is specifically for their show, and then they'll do like a vibe set and a body rock set, and then boom, and we were chill, and we're that's what we do. So I don't know if they would be able to do what an AOV does. Like, if I was like, I need the company, I want to book you for this. You have 2 weeks to put a set together. They're gonna be like, and it has to, by the way, nothing I've ever seen before. They're gonna be like, oh shit, well that's not really what we do. Like, not saying that they can't, but it would definitely be like, maybe that's something that we need to start thinking about. You know,
true. But I kind of see it as, I always see dance and music like the same, right? Mm-hmm. So the artistry to me is the same, where Jay-Z can make an album every 4 years. He doesn't got to do one every year, but Meek's got to do one every year. He's still, you know what I mean? So I feel like maybe as your wisdom and your time in the game goes on longer, you can start to do a little less.
But when have you never noticed some teams to change?
In terms of what?
I don't remember the company ever doing that many shows a year. I remember that's what has always made them so exclusive, and so like, when you see that when the company's performing, you're like, oh shit, they're like companies performing, you know? So
they're not oversaturating the market with their product.
So, and this is even prior to them having Urban Paradise, because even like a lot of teams in the Bay were always seem more exclusive. So if a Bay team would come to SoCal, you'd be like, oh shit, like it's very rare, you know? As opposed to SoCal teams where you feel obligated, you have to do every show. And if you don't do every show, you're why? Why didn't you do Vibe, bro? Yeah. Like, oh, you didn't get in. What do you mean? Oh, you didn't. Oh, you just applied. You knew Vibe. Why didn't you apply last year? It's there's so many things that are supposed to happen.
Like, so you're obligated.
You're obligated, and if you're not, it's like, oh, like maybe you're not official. You're not HHDA official because you didn't get into every show. You know. Yeah. So I guess it's just a little bit different. I feel like that's probably the biggest culture shock, though, is following like music trends. You know, like people in the Bay feel like maybe they're only obligated to do what is asked of them in the Bay, not in the community.
Correct.
You know, and then there's certain teams I know that are hungry. Like, like One Up, them, they want to do everything, and they will. They're not gonna stop. They're gonna be a crew forever, and they're not gonna decimate until they say, we're going to hit everything on our bucket list. Yeah. However long it takes, they will do it. And I know it because I know Tariq and I know X. And you
shout out One Up.
They want, shout out One Up. Like, and I've seen them work. I've been in a rehearsal. I see how they work. And then they're nice. And they're hungry. They have the mentality of an old generation. Yeah, they're purists, but they have a mentality of the same people who trained them. Us.
They
you know, like they were. It was right. You know, it comes down to it.
Have a lot of respect.
And if it just takes, like, they win, but they're not winning the right ones. When they win the right ones, people are gonna really look, and then that shapes a different direction. Like, so when people see, oh, they're winning, and they acknowledge their mentality, and they acknowledge like what they've been doing and how like they've been saying we're gonna do this, maybe that'll change the whole mentality of this area, because they do it for the culture. They do it for like, yo, we're putting the Bay on our back and we're gonna do this shit. And I know like there's teams in SAC that are the same way. They do it for the culture. They're like, yo, we're SAC. We're gonna rep our shit. We put SAC on the map. Mm-hmm. Who's putting the Bay on the map right now? Who's like, Chapkins is putting it. But then you'll be like, oh, Chapkins is in Fairfield. So who's putting like the Bay? Like, I don't know who is. So, and I feel like One Up is like, okay, we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
they're trying
to do it, and then you're gonna have. So it's just like, who is it gonna be? In LA, there's no question about it. Who is it? Jerby, San Diego, Cookies. You know, like there's no question. So maybe that's another thing to think about. Differences in the Bay, like it's like a toss up. You know what I mean? Even with like AOV, then you have it. So in AOV, I feel like it's not even this. They're so like they're on a business tip now. AOV is like,
to me they're industry.
They're almost industry
They're
now.
industry,
you know.
Yeah.
So
you get on that team, you're doing some kind of corporate gig. You're doing
doing a theme park, you're doing a corporate gig. You're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're getting paid. So, and you know, I gotta tip my hat to that. You know, because that's one thing. Like CJ was like, "This is what I'm gonna do. This is how it's gonna be.
He learned.
It's gonna
happen.
happen
From some mistakes and things.
Oh yeah.
So that's what's dope to me about that whole situation is that he just like learned. He said, "Hit a wall, I'm going around it. This wall's gonna come up now. I'm gonna go to the left. Oh, I hit another wall." He just never keeps letting something hold him back. So
yeah,
I love that about
that's
him.
business. Yeah, that's business right there. So I don't know, man, but you said something earlier where you said like they're bleeding into one another, like the SoCal Bay Steves and everything. And what I feel like is there needs to be a calendar season for competitions in the Bay, and there needs to be more variety in selection.
Variety in terms of who gets picked to perform and
in
compete?
these shows. Okay. Like I understand where it is now. It's money. Mm-hmm. I know that. I know it's money because it's money because when I first started doing these competitions, $10 entrance fee. Now some bitches is like $40 to exhibition.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even gonna win money.
You can't even win that.
You're gonna take my money and give it to them, and it's not even gonna be all of my money. You know what I mean? So I'm paying $40 just to showcase. You know what I mean?
Basically, to be able to have the chance to have content.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I hope you have a front row cam. You know what I mean? So there's like a lot of stuff that's different. So clearly it's about the money, but everybody doesn't have to get in. Especially if not everybody's been winning. Mm-hmm. Especially if not anybody has ever won. Because we all know there's some teams that have been around for a long time that have never won.
They're still in the
lineup. They're still on the lineup. Or they won a long time ago and they're still on the lineup. In the same spot that they were a long time ago.
So you're saying they should be passed up by somebody else?
I'm saying that
give up their spot for someone else.
I'm saying that Dominique Wilkins and Spud Webb was on the Hawks and it was tight then.
Yeah.
That don't make them tight now.
True.
Okay.
But you can always remember.
And last time I checked, the Supersonics moved to Oklahoma and they're a whole different team now. So. And they got a whole new chance and a whole new makeover. So there's some teams that
I really
have
want to know the real analogy of it.
I'm just saying, like,
thing, but I don't get it in terms of the dancer. So like,
because take it like this: there's a lot of people who have been in the game for a long time that weren't on the right team. You know what I mean? And they like say like a couple like a Reggie Miller, or like a Gary Payton. Okay, and they had to go somewhere else to kind of like rebrand themselves. You know
so
what I mean?
What you're saying,
but because they're new, in essence of what they're doing now, they don't get the same shine. You know what I mean? Because I know there's some people that have heat, that have new teams that should be on these lineups.
Yeah.
And they're not getting in because of they're like a new team, but they're a new team, but that person ain't new.
Yeah.
You
so
know what I mean?
What I'm hearing you saying is like Team X has been in let's say Body Rock lineup and has not been ranking top 3 in
ever.
A while.
Not in a while. We're not gonna say a while. We're gonna say ever.
They should be like, okay, team, listen, we gotta take a break, get our shit together, and get back on the lineup. Let's try other shit first.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just like MMA, right? You can be a champion,
but it's on
and
Body
you
Rock
lose,
to pick, right?
True.
But it's on Body Rock to pick.
They don't.
But here's the thing: it's not even. I'm not. And Body Rock is just one competition.
I know. Just in terms of the example.
And it has to be multiple competitions because the thing about it is, if a team is getting into every show, apparently a team is good, right? Mm-hmm. Wrong. No, because a team can get into every show by just applying first.
Yeah, you just apply.
Yeah.
But if they. Or is the first come first serve is what you're saying?
Sometimes I feel like that.
Oh, okay.
Because there's teams that have not been winning that are still getting put in the shows and they have not been even like placing top 5
and they're still putting the show based off of legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not cool because then you have people who may have been a part of those legacies, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. I'm not talking about myself because I don't compete no more. I don't compete anymore because it's just like this. But I know people there's people that I rocked with that have been training like with me or like right underneath me that have teams, and they're nice. They won all the same accolades as me and all the same things as me, so they have the same knowledge as me. They just have younger dancers or newer dancers, and then so they should have their say because they have the same trophies that these other teams are riding off of. You know what I mean? So and it just that's how you get variety because these teams that are consistently getting put in the shows, these are the cookie cutter teams too. They don't even look like what their original lineage looked like. That's another thing. Like how are you gonna have like we'll say like back in the day there was a TM style, a Kaba style, and a Pack style. How come TM style, Kaba style, and Pack style don't still exist within those teams anymore, though?
You think they should?
I think that there should still be a type of flavor to it.
As like respect?
Yes.
Okay.
Because no matter how like Cookies flips their shit, it still always has a Cookies feel to it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example.
That's cool. Like I can relate to that if I seen Mind Over Matter and Alan's not there anymore or didn't choreograph anything. It should
still full. I should still see something from Alan.
Yeah, okay, I get what
right?
you're saying.
Like
yeah, for
but
sure.
Like Keone, okay, boom, Keone and Mari left, right? Cookies, right? But there's still an aspect in there of there's still a feel because of how they trained people. Like Carlos has his own style. He still has his own style, but his ear similar. His staging. He understands of how to utilize the stage, how to maximize it.
Lineage, its influence.
Yes, it's still there. Some of these teams, there's absolutely no lineage because they at some point they went curved to the wave, and they were like, okay, well, what we're doing isn't working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. So we gotta do this, or we can just keep doing us, and eventually, just like fashion, it's gonna come right back around. And that's what's going to happen now. It's happening with music. It's happening with waves. We're doing grooves. The people who are hyped now, like the Isabels and the Melvins, they're choreographing to what type of music? The older music. You know what I mean? They're doing certain grooves that are reminiscent of old grooves that we were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're recognizing lineage. You know what I mean? And they're incorporating their new school vibe, but they're recognizing lineage. Other people are not recognizing lineage. They're just recognizing new school.
Yeah. You need lineage when it comes to culture.
Have to.
When there's culture involved, you need to see the tree, the family tree, or the lineage.
You have to. When there's hip hop involved, you have to have lineage. In general, you can't. Hip hop is old enough to have. It has history now. It's old enough. You know what I mean? Like we can study this shit. It's not new. Dancing, hip hop dancing, it's not new. We can study this shit now.
But it's so much more done and accessible, so that it's the same. Like again, like. I hate doing this, but I was doing music. Like, you know, this random person that's like, I love hip hop, but they just like Migos. But you know what I mean? And it's like,
so you love Migos.
All right, but it's the same thing where it's like you got these people that are like, oh, I love hip hop dance, but they really just do this kind of like contemporary weird stuff to like some like AC Alone or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, well, I guess you guys are hip hop dancers, but you know what I mean?
I guess you're doing hip hop moves and make you a hip hop dancer.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The entry is so wide now that it's like you can just say that and be that, even though you don't get the essence of it. You don't get those lineage. You don't get that you should have an OG or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
how do you? Okay, so since we're all OGs here, and it's crazy to say that, but it's a fact. Since we're all OGs here, how do we? At the risk of sounding like bitter old men or sounding jaded, how do we get the younger generation to appreciate or even want to care about lineage? Because for us, because it was so new when we started doing this, I think we were more eager to understand the lineage. We paid, fuck it, keep it transparent. We cared about our OGs. We respected our OGs more than now. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because maybe now generations don't know who the OGs are, but I'm saying on my fucking comments on my videos that OG shit is starting to pop up a lot more in my comments. Like, oh yeah, go off OG. I see you, OG. Oh man, you were my first inspirations, OG. And I'm like, well, fuck it, okay. I'm gonna embrace that shit. But how do we get people to want to care about it as much as we cared about it?
That's a good question.
I don't
Because
know
we're here. Like, we're accessible.
Yeah.
Sorrel is accessible. Siege is accessible. KJ is whenever he wants to come out, he's accessible. Jafar out there accessible.
It takes a movement, though. It takes a movement of all the OGs telling the people that they do have access to that are younger.
But we do.
You guys are saying, hey, like.
I think it's a movement, and I also think it's a mentality on the youngsters.
They have to want to.
They want to have to like reach out to us and learn, but also we, at the same time, OGs need to be like, we got knowledge, we got experience. You know, how do we meet in the middle like that? Do we put ourselves out there like that? Like say, hey, we're accessible. Like
here's the thing, though. Yes, that's what we do. But we all have, like you said, like we have to all be like unified on it, or else it seems like, because nowadays with the generation and with everything being in your face, it makes it seem like we're just trying to hop on and be like, hey, look at us. You know, like, hey, we got come look at us. We got all the information. You got answers? Oh, you got questions? We got answers. You know what I mean? Like, and then people are gonna be like, whoa, like, nah, we're good. Like, we have to find.
That's not my steez. That's the problem I'm having with it.
Yeah,
but
that's not what we're trying. That's not what we're trying to do. Yeah. But that's how it can come off.
Yeah.
Based off of how people put information out nowadays, everything is like, look at me. You got come to me for the answer. I got a vlog. I got this.
It has to be genuine.
Instructional. I'm an expert at everything. You know.
What if promoters were asking not only for your video of your dance group dancing and shit, but like an interview? Like, what if they're like, hey, tell me about you? Like, oh, I spent 2 years under Gary, 1 year under Randy. You know what I mean? Like
you need credits.
What if that shit?
First of all,
what if that was part of the thing now? Now the promoter at least has access to lineage and knowing.
What if, and it just popped in my head, what, for one, like, all these dance teams that should have lineage, they should have a resume, for one, and those resumes should list credits, it should list training, just like a regular, how we would have if we're going, we market ourselves. So that should be something that should be submitted, because the thing about it is, if I've been around, if I'm a dance team that's been around for 10 years and I just didn't start winning to the past 4 years, I'm only going to send you my most recent shit. You know what I mean? But if my most recent stuff isn't resemblant of the lineage, and you're going to be like, oh, you just curved to your stuff to go with what's winning now, there's no depth there. So looking at that actual resume, you could be like, how long you been in the game? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you have this. Oh, you train with Gary. Oh, you train with Randy. Da, da, da. Okay, cool. Like, you put in work.
Yeah.
You put in your time to get where you're at, as opposed to being like, oh, you're just a new booty who just jumped on a wave.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's how people are getting in shows, man. People are winning, like, oh, I won the HHI. Okay, cool. So you won it with the HHI format. Okay. You did a 2.5 minute mix, and you won. So come to do our show, which you need a 5-minute mix, and no, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't automatically get into this just because you won. Yeah, that's not cool. It's not fair.
It's not fair, but I get it. I mean, like you were saying earlier with MMA, that's the same thing. If you're a champ in another org, they might give you a title shot.
But you have to get there though. What I'm saying, you have to work to that title shot.
Oh yeah. You should have to still come into the new league and work, but sometimes you don't.
Like, here's the thing: if I'm a team who's tried to get into not even World of Dance. I try to get into Vibe, because I think personally Vibe's the shit. You know what I mean? I love that competition. So if I try to get in Vibe 4 years in a row and I don't get in, right, and I play my 5th year and I get in, and I'm like, cool, I know what it takes to get here. I keep applying, I don't barely get denied, and then a team goes on the World of Dance, the TV show. No one's ever heard of this team before, ever. They literally put the team together just for the show. They get second place, okay? They apply to Vibe. They don't even apply to Vibe. Vibe reaches out to them and gets them put a show. How am I'm allowed to feel some type of way, right?
Well, of course.
Right? Yeah. But that's how, of course, right? But in the eyes of the community right now, I'm a hater. That's where it's at, though. Like, I'm bitter. Yeah. I'm bitter. Like, oh no, maybe your shit should have been better 4 years ago, Jay. Like, maybe you should do World of Dance. Yeah. Oh, maybe I should have did that route to get over here. I never wanted to go over there, so why would I have to go over there to get over here?
Maybe I should have taken a predetermined path. I mean, like, that's not
life.
No,
that's not life.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
And I think that mentality needs to change before anything, because right there, that's not for the culture off top. That's for the profit.
Yeah.
You know.
How do you find that balance though? Because my brain, as you're talking about that, as a producer, like how do I'm thinking, if I was in that situation, how do I make everyone happy? Because if you try to make everyone happy, everyone hates you. You know.
But here's the thing though. You are a special breed because you're an actual producer of a show who's a dancer. So you will know that the importance of having certain things,
having water,
like little
the little things,
because check this out. You could do a show without any like top 5 teams, because you've done a show without top 5 teams before,
right.
Extremely successful, and you have done this show going on 7th time, okay, and each year you've got more and more teams.
Yeah.
More higher caliber teams,
mm-hmm.
which means you're already doing something right because you did it for the culture. That right there shows that it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't need to be done for the money as long as you take care of the people who are the most important. Because as long as the dancers are happy, they're going to come back, and they're going to be the ones who tell their parents to come watch them, their friends to come watch them. Like a random non-dancing civilian who knows nothing about dancing is not going to go to Vibe just because and not know anybody.
I heard about them charging dancers to watch too. That's crazy.
Oh, where? That's insane.
So if you perform, they charge you, right?
So if you perform, you still have to pay to watch?
To watch, yeah.
Oh, because the seating smaller? Is it because it's like a smaller venue?
But that's what...
That's fucking crazy. I performed at a show where the dancers couldn't watch before. That's not...
that happens. You know, like the venue couldn't hold it.
But this wasn't like a club. This was like an actual auditorium, and like it's just no seating.
Like typically you would like reserve an area, you know,
or at least put a TV in the back or a monitor. None of that. But yeah, I think because you do the show for the culture, and there's other shows that have been doing it for the culture, like that's what's important. And understanding that perspective and understanding that though it is a business, it's almost like that whole Field of Dream shit. If you build it, it will come. Like you are never, if you say, okay, is there a competition in this month? No. Is there a competition in the month before or the month after? No. Boom. Okay. Yeah. Now where do I want to throw it? SoCal? Boom. Do I want to? How much money I want to get away? $1,500? Boom. People will show up. Dancers will show up. It may not be all the heavy hitters at first, but you will have dancers. You will have enough people who want $1,500, throwing some T-shirts.
Or want a
stage. It's not hard to do it when you do it for the culture. Now people are like, okay, cool. I want to give away $3,500. Well, now you got to make sure that you can make $3,500. Now you're doing it on a business aspect, and now you may not, because I'll tell you this much: a lot of dance teams that are really doing it for the culture don't care if it's $1,500 or $3,000.
Yeah.
They're gonna do the same show for a $3,000 check that they're gonna do for a $1,500 check. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna be like, oh, it's $7,000. Oh, we gotta do it. No, it's just winning the win.
Yeah, it's the pride.
Because I've gotten ready for plenty of shows for a trophy, for no check. Mm-hmm. And last time I checked, every mega crew I've ever been on, I've never seen a dollar or a dime from any of those checks that we win, because it goes right back to the team. It's not enough. So it's not about that, yo. Like, if you're being flown out somewhere, maybe. Like there's those shows in Switzerland where it's like, yeah, you want to win because you're getting flown. I understand that. But other than that, community, it's never been about money. So why are these shows becoming so crazy? Like, and then I know, like, I think, like I said, you're a rare breed because you do it for the culture. Sorrel does it for the culture, you know. Myron used to do it for the culture, man.
I miss that guy.
You know, yeah, I miss. Shout out. You know, that's my brother right there.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the people who helped preserve the culture. You know, but everything has to evolve. I know that.
Yeah, for sure.
But as things evolve, like you said, as it's evolving, there's still like little rungs that can still be. We're here. You know, like, hey, why don't you take a break and catch some knowledge real quick on your journey, and then keep on going. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know, man. I'm glad you guys are doing this though, because this is a rung. This is one of those pegs for knowledge.
Yep.
You know, this boba talk. You know, like.
It's a platform for everybody to like learn about this stuff, because it's not being discussed with the younger generation.
Some people aren't even thinking past the room. You know what I mean? Like
past the
mirror.
Like,
after the mirror's not in front of them, they don't even think about it no more. So like
shit, some people can't even turn around and face the opposite way from the mirror.
So that's why I think like I'm just happy that we're doing this, and I'm happy you're a part of this.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I know we got this huge recording studio that we're in right now, and I mean, it's gonna take time for people to get to this elaborate level, you know. What up, Sway? Yeah, you know. So, but yeah, I know how you guys got the slot right before the breakfast show. It's crazy, man. But yeah, you know, moving on. Shout out to Revolt TV. But you know, we
He's looking at us outside the window right now.
Hey, what's up, girl? But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on here. Like, I know, you know, I got a lot to say, but I just try to make sure that, you know, I'm up here with you guys, like, trying to spread knowledge. I don't just talk just to talk. You know, I like to make sure that every time I speak my mind on a topic, it's to try to, like, bring awareness. It's like, it's not going to help me by me saying what I know. You know, I mean, I'm trying to help somebody else out, and I really think you guys are trying to help people out, and you're doing it for the culture, and this is the way the direction is going. So.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, sir.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's gonna be New Year. It's gonna be New Year right
there.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have it.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have another 1 or 5 with you.
Yeah, man.
You're up here all the
we need
time.
to do one on location.
Oh,
on a cruise.
Oh, I was like, at a show?
On a train.
On a train.
Take Caltrain and just pull up the mic.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy.
Ticket, please. Get the fuck out of here. We're recording. Alright. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Decipher Podcast. We out. Peace.
Cue cool music.
Thank you for listening to the Decipher Podcast. Show your support by passing this episode along on your social media. If there are any topics you would like us to discuss on future episodes or feedback on this episode, please leave us a comment or message. Peace, positivity, and prosperity.